I'm Elisa, and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a Bible journaling process video for you. I'm going to be journaling some sermon notes in Psalm 56:8, and it is dealing with your pain from your past, and what to do with that pain and how to work through that pain. And so it was a great sermon, definitely thought-provoking, definitely hit me and brought up some things that I hadn't really thought about in a while. And I thought I want to Bible journal for that. And I thought I would turn the camera on and show you, you can use sets, stamp sets from the past, techniques from the past, anything to Bible journal. Sometimes I get caught up in only using the most recent things, the stamp sets that come with a current devotional, and then I put them away and forget that I had ever used them. And so I pulled out a couple of previous stamp sets from By the Well for God. I'm going to be doing some painting with Distress Oxide inks, and I will just get going on this page. I'm really excited about it. I have a vision in my head for what I want to do, and I'm hoping that it comes out like I think it is going to come out. So I will put you on fast forward. We will get going. I'll talk a little bit more about what was in the sermon, and I'll see you at the end. This is one of my very favorite stamp sets that I've ever received from By the Well for God. It's called the Light 2, and it's an older stamp set. I'm not sure if it's still available. If it is, I will link it below. But it is a series of different lamps and pendant lights and string lights, and I have just used it over and over in and out of my Bible. It's one of those really versatile sets that you just can't put down. So I use Versafine Onyx black ink because it is a permanent ink. I'm stamping down the image on my page, and I'm going to be painting around and on top of the image, which is why I use the Versafine ink, so that it is a permanent ink. I have smushed out two different colors of Distress Oxide inks. The top one is mustard seed and the bottom one is fossilized amber. And with my paintbrush, I'm getting my paintbrush wet off screen and then using it to pick up a little bit of the Distress Oxide ink. The more water I mix in, the easier it is to drag out that paint. But I'm just going to blend these two yellows. You can see I grab a bigger paintbrush here as I get to a bigger area. I'm going to blend out these two yellows, use them to create some dimension, and I'm creating kind of a cascading effect of light on my page. And the concept I'm going for is bringing pain into the light and really naming the pain from our past that is still affecting us, giving it a name, identifying the source of that pain, and bringing it out for, just for you to see. You don't have to parade it around in front of everyone else, but bringing it out, naming it in your prayers. And in Psalm 56:8 and 9, it says, "You yourself have recorded my wanderings. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book? Then my enemies will retreat on the day when I call. This I know, God is for me." So this is just a reference to the fact that God knows the pain that's in our past. He has seen it. He has a record of it. He's written it down, and He is not denying our pain, and we don't have to deny our pain either. We can name it just like God has, and that brings it into the light and takes away some of the power from that pain source. So I have my light here, and now I'm going to add the darkness around the edges. And I have four different colors of Distress Oxide ink, and I'm getting them very wet. I'm working with a very wet page, which is a little bit tricky in this illustrating Bible. To be honest, the page doesn't particularly like water, but what I have found is you can use watercolor, Distress Oxide inks in here as long as you don't work the page too much. And what I mean by that is you can see I'm just lightly blotting the color. I'm kind of letting it do its own thing. I am not painting strokes back and forth over and over the page. I'm not trying to get it to do things that it doesn't want to do. I'm not forcing anything with this water. I'm just letting it kind of work its way. And I like the effect. I like how some of it pools, and I just like the effect that comes from using these Distress Oxides. Plus, I have found when I'm painting with Distress Oxides over one of my typical watercolors, it does give that softer look, and so I don't have to worry quite so much about the blending and the pooling that happens sometimes in the illustrated Bible, but it kind of softens the end look, and you'll see that in some of the pictures at the end. This does involve a lot of water. I want everything to stay really wet because that lets the color move a little bit more and blend into each other, but my page gets very, very wet, so I have to be careful when I'm working with it. You can see right here as I lift it up, even lifting it up might tear it. So after I finish blending here in a moment, I let it dry completely before I move on to the next step. I've set the page aside. Now that it's dry, I'm coming back in with a Prismacolor pencil. This is in a metallic gold, and I'm using it to just add color to the pendant light that I have right here, adding this kind of gold color. It's like a hammered gold, and I'm going to use this pencil several times on the page. You might see that my page looks rather wrinkled right now. It's because I haven't closed my Bible. I haven't moved it at all, and it is closed. But I am fully confident that once I have my Bible closed for a while, that page really does smooth out. The wrinkled pages don't bother me at all, actually, because it just shows to me the work that I've put into that page, and they don't stay wrinkled for that long. I am wrapping up the details on that pendant light, and now I'm pulling out some of the stamps from the His Story set. And this is also available over at By the Well for God, and I love, love, love this vintage typewriter. It is a very large stamp, and so I'm going to use my stamp positioning tool. This one is from Tim Holtz, and I use the magnets here to just hold a white piece of cardstock, take my same Versafine Onyx black ink because I do plan on doing some more paint, and I'm inking up the stamp over here on the left side, and then it's really easy to come and push down and get a great stamp impression. I don't get to use this positioning tool very often with my Bible because it's hard to get the Bible pages in the right position for it. So I do like to use it when I'm stamping onto cardstock, things like that, because if I have an issue with the stamped image, like it doesn't get a clear stamp, I can come back over it again with that same ink and fix it a little bit more easier than when I'm doing it freehand. I'm also going to pick a couple other elements from the His Story set, this little inkwell and a very nice calligraphy pen, and I'm going to put those on there and get those images stamped as well. I'll be working on this separate piece of paper and then cutting out these images as die cut pieces. I'm using the same technique to paint my typewriter as I did on the page, and that's using Distress Oxide inks. I'm using a much smaller brush in this case and a little bit drier so that it stays within the details that I intend for it to stay. But I'm using this peacock feather greenish blue color to paint my typewriter. To me, it reminds me of those We Are Memory Keeper typewriters that are really popular that are that same kind of color tone, and I think it'll pop off the page very nicely. Now, I have sped this up a lot, but I will tell you that in my experience, when I'm painting with Distress Oxide inks, I do have to move a little bit quicker. I feel like they don't blend as well later on. They don't reactivate in the same way that watercolors might, and so sometimes I'm left with a few harsh lines if I haven't blended it out right away. So something to watch for as you're using it. They are a fun tool to paint with, so experiment with it. Do it on a separate piece of cardstock just like I'm doing here, and try using some of your Distress Oxides in some different ways besides just stamping or creating mixed media backgrounds. At this point, I'm going to come in with some weathered wood and add gray detail to a lot of the smaller parts of the typewriter. In the end, I actually come back and add some glitter detail with some paint pens, just because I'm me and I like a little shimmer and shine in there. So adding a little bit of gray detail, and then I'm going to come back also with, I believe it's frayed burlap. That's right over there. You can see it off to the left. And I'm going to give my paper, the paper that's in the typewriter, kind of a vintagey look. I feel like the white is going to be too stark against the background that I have created for my page. And you can see here I didn't quite blend that out right away, and so I have a little bit of a line going. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind the imperfections. I think it's a sign of something that's handmade. But if it does bother you, you might want to use just more traditional watercolors or even working on a watercolor paper instead of just a plain cardstock. That will help in the blending. As I mentioned before, I'm using that same Prismacolor pencil in the metallic kind of hammered gold look to add more detail. I used it on the keys of the typewriter. I'm going to make the ink in this inkwell gold as well, and then I'm coming back with that weathered wood, that gray tone, to fill in a little bit more of the detail on these last couple of ephemera pieces. Here's where I get a little bit crazy. I pull out a couple of glitter paint pens, and one is in gold glitter and one is in silver glitter, and I'm just adding a touch, just a little touch, to the gold elements and the silver elements on my page. It's not a lot of sparkle, which I like. I didn't want it to be flashy. It's not really the idea for this page, but a little bit of sparkle just to set it off so that not everything is the same chalky tone that you get from the Distress Oxide inks. Just a tiny little bit of detail right there. This is my favorite set of small alpha stamps that I got from Michael's forever ago, I feel like, and I'm using it to add my title right here, which is Name Your Pain. I guess it's kind of my subtitle, you might say. Name your pain, ... And the idea is that you're telling your story. Tell your story, own your story before it owns you. Here I'm cutting out the images, and you're going to see, kind of funny, I used 2 different pairs of scissors. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that does this. I used to think it was crazy that people had multiple pairs of scissors, but now I get the point. So I used my favorite pair to cut out the main piece, and then I have a pair of detail scissors to get some of those tiny little places that are not easily cut with a larger pair of scissors. So just, I don't know, am I the only one that has multiple pairs of scissors in one project? Is that weird? I hope not. All right, cutting out the pen and the inkwell here, and then I'll start positioning my pieces on the paper. I am going to group these paper pieces on the bottom of my page, layered up, just to create a nice little scene. And the idea is that this typewriter is in the light. We are shedding light on pain in our past, and you know, it was kind of a heavy topic at the sermon on Sunday, and you'll see I don't fill in my journaling on this page. I decided it was definitely more of a private journaling moment, so I journal off camera after I photographed. But it really did strike me, the idea of naming your pain and discovering why you do certain things that you do, what the source might be. Here I picked out a stamp from Illustrated Faith. Actually, this is from the Joy Journey set, and it really was just a personal stamp for me, and it says, "I believe who you say I am," and that's just a message for myself, something from some painful experiences in the past that I just want to reassure myself that I am a child of God, and I am who God says I am, not who anyone else says I am. I am just bringing out all the stamp sets on this page. So this one is a Recollections stamp set that's kind of a typewriter font, and I'm using it to add the title, Bring Your Past into the Light. And I fiddle around a little bit. I know I wanted my title, I originally just wanted it up in this left-hand corner, but then I felt like my page was a little unbalanced. It felt very heavy on the left side. And so after I decide to add Bring Your Past, I move into the light over to the right-hand side, kind of in the middle, and you'll see me adjust my Bible around so I can get the stamping in the right place. And I like the direction, kind of the triangle that's created when I moved part of the title over here, because you can see I have everything in the bottom left, I have the middle right, and then the top left, and it kind of creates a nice flow in the page. And I end up adding this last little stamp. This is a recent stamp I got from By the Well for God. It's like a little note card with a clip on it, and I wanted a place for journaling, and I'm going to use that same Distress Oxide ink in the peacock feather because I wanted to repeat it again on the page. And this time I'm being actually really purposeful about making it uneven. I don't want the card to be even. I want it to be look a little worn, a little bit, I don't know, add some dimension and texture with the paint. So you can see me kind of slopping it around over there, wiping up that last little bit of oxide before I put my arm in it. I am known for just putting my hands all up in ink or paint or something that I have sitting on my desk. So when I actually remember to clean it up, that is a big win for me. Back one last time with that gold pencil from Prismacolor, a little detail with some micron pen, and then this piece is done. And this is where I am going to list some painful things, some painful thoughts from the past. You won't see me do it on camera. I'll put it off camera, but I think it's important that you can journal things that aren't just happy. You can journal anything. Bible journaling is not always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you are journaling through hard things, and for me, crafting and getting creative does help me work through some harder parts of my life, helps me get through it either just by therapy or helps me work out some feelings. So don't be afraid to journal some harder topics. Okay, and speaking of harder topics, maybe not so hard, can someone please teach me how to do a bow clip? I am struggling. I'm on the struggle bus. I wanted to add this ribbon to the top, and I try to make a bow, and it's kind of a bow. It's kind of not a bow. It's a weird looking uneven thing, but that's okay. It's the best I could do. It's kind of a light ribbon, and I liked it at the top. I wasn't sure what tab I wanted to put, so this is a nice light one over here. I was having trouble figuring out how to do that bow. I don't know what my struggle was. I'm going to add the date right below my journaling spot, and then I'll be journaling off camera. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please take the time to give it a thumbs up and maybe hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification button. I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, keep it creative.